Did I do that? Oh, I think you're muted. I think you're muted.
Oh, it muted me. It blanked out. It blanked out and it muted me, and
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
right.
what I was doing, but I think we have it going now. So
Okay.
let's get this going here. My name is Roy Canterbury. I'm a host today on Arch Talk 101, and we're going to talk with Lisa about some fun stuff she's doing in archery, and we're just going to have a good old time finding out about what's going on in your world.
Yeah,
For
right.
those watching the video, I remember it's going to be available in the Arch Talk One Facebook group as well as on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself. The audio will be out in Spotify, and then it uploads it to other places as well as you got to Audible and watch it free or listen to it free there. I have a lot of them that use it on Audible because then it just kind of keeps going and listen to it while you're driving.
Okay.
So, welcome to the show, Lisa. If you could introduce yourself and tell us a little something about you.
My name is Lisa Walker, and I reside in Michigan, the city of Big Rapids. Do the majority of my hunting kind of in this area in Montcalm County, so Mecosta County and Montcalm County. Um, I've been hunting kind of really since I was 5.
Huh.
um, yeah, started kind of being drug out in the woods with my dad, bunny hunting, and it just has revolved since then. It's a big passion, and I've been hunting for years.
So you're kind of uh, been put into the hunting world and enjoyed it for a few years.
A few years, yeah.
So when you started out, when you was 5 and 6 year olds, what all was you doing? Was did they have you out um, carrying the guns, hunting, or being the
Um,
bird dog like you used to do
yeah,
with us a few
yeah,
times?
being the bird dog, exactly. Just tromping through the snow. Yeah, I really didn't start, picking up a gun independently until I was kind of in my teens, and I really did rifle hunting for deer, whitetails mostly my kind of my passion, which has now turned to turkey. But it was whitetail at that time when I was in my teens, and I participated in my first archery league when I was 18, and that was all it wrote. I kind of hung up using a gun at all, and just solely am archery hunting now.
It's a little more challenging, isn't it, to
It
pick
is,
up the bow and go out there and hunt with it, especially them turkeys.
yes, which is my favorite.
Yeah, that's an interesting bird to hunt.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
we used to have a group of about 3 dozen here, right a mile from my house. And then I hadn't seen him in a while. Of course, we had a couple of floods, and our neighbor said they seen somebody out one night just shooting them.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh man, if I'd have seen that, it's like, okay, get the camera out, record it, turn him in because there's no reason for that. But
No.
we've had a few days, a couple of floods here that have really, um, well, flooded the whole area.
Okay.
And so I imagine any of them that were around have left
Yeah.
because of the
Yeah.
flooding. It was kind of nice to go drive out and see, about 3 dozen of them out in the field.
Yes.
No hunting there, so the farmer didn't want anybody hunting. So, I had
Mhm.
to wait for him to go across the street where I could hunt. But, you know, yeah, they'll come back.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
So you started your archery career when you was what said about 18.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So
Started with an archery league, and I just fell in love and decided that was going to kind of be my niche, was just to do as much hunting as I could possible, just with a bow.
so what made you pick up the bow for the first time?
Oh, we had some friends that were doing archery leagues in the small town that I lived in at the time, and they said, you should just try it. And I had, used a bow in the past, but I wasn't using it just solely. And so it wasn't I wasn't quite as addicted to it at the time as I am as I am now. And but once I kind of got into the competition with it, and just learned the sport, I fell in love, and that's all I do.
So do you do indoor targets or what all do you compete in?
I kind of have weaned away from doing, I will still do some leagues, and some 3D shoots, that kind of thing. But, hunting truly is kind of where I'm at right now. A lot of hunting. And then I do pro staff for a few companies. So they keep me busy with that, whether it's social media or, traveling a bit for them. So yeah, it's just all about archery.
But if you want to tell us, which companies do pro staff for?
For Mossy Oak and for Scentlock. And then I also Mountain Hunter Outdoors, which is kind of a newer company. It's getting some products out. They do a lot of hunting related products, so like boot dryers and things that you need for. They're really focusing on going to Montana, Wyoming, doing hunts that you're camping and they're making products accordingly for that. It's a great company.
Yeah, that's kind of nice when you find products that you like to use and you represent them
Yeah,
and promote them, and that's always nice. And I always like to find out, what you're shooting, what you're using, and what is it that you like about them. And of course, there's always things you don't like about them, but hey, we
yeah,
just get an honest review. We're not doing a review, so
right, right.
yeah, it's kind of nice that what's out there for different products. There's so many new stuff out there,
There
and
is.
what I can do is I'll put links to them in the description,
Okay.
so anybody that's interested in them can just click on the link and go to there and find out a little bit more about them, and that way it'll take uh, you know send some business there to
Yeah.
for products that you like and support and go from there. So where all of you competed? So you're just mostly hunting, but when you do compete, what is it that you're competing in?
Like target shooting, indoor target or outdoor 3D targets. Um, like I said, it's more, I kind of have weaned away from it a little bit just due to time constraints of everything else that I have going on.
Yeah,
Uh, but when I was doing it heavily, it was, you would just, there was different leagues that would travel to different sports shops that had indoor ranges or outdoor ranges. And, there was a few that were teams. So you'd, have two shooters and, just all kinds of fun leagues. And then there are also just 3D shoots. And so it was a lot of fun, but very time consuming. You have to be very dedicated to be able to, if you want to stay in the running with things, you have to make them as much as possible. And that's hard nowadays.
yeah. We've had a few professional, semi-professional archers on here, and yeah, it's pretty much if you're doing it for a living, you've got to be at every tournament, and
You
you've
do.
got to be winning. If you're sick, your money goes away,
Yes.
and that's
Yeah.
a lot of dedication. And those that do it, hats off to you that you can do it. Um, I don't want to spend that much time practicing.
Right.
I like shooting a bow,
Good
but
for
I don't
you.
want to.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
like
want to
to.
have to travel all over the world and shoot all these tournaments and depend on, hopefully you can make enough money, and then it takes it more as a job instead of a just a fun hobby.
I found that when you are doing it constantly just for staying in the runnings on things, or it does kind of take the joy out of it a little bit. And I much rather shoot in my backyard and prepare for hunting that way. I guess any more than doing the leagues and stuff nowadays.
Yeah, what equipment are you shooting now?
The Ibashaki Gen 3, so her new bow. Um, I had the Gen 2, which I loved. So I'm a bow tech girl. That's
Yeah, they've got quite a few products out there that a lot of people are shooting, and they make some good stuff. I know we used to sell a bunch of Bowtech stuff. Um, when I worked at Cabela's, Bowtech was one of them that was pretty good.
yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of options in there for new shooters and experienced shooters, and
yeah, absolutely. I think I went through a phase where I probably tried every manufacturer on the market. I was switching bows every year, and I just whatever it is about them, that just happens to be what I love. And so, yeah, that's what I'm shooting currently.
It kind of makes it nice when, when you can do that, try out the different stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm still, my hunting bow's a 2001 PSE and my target bow's a 2003 PSE.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You find
So
what you like and it works.
yeah, I'm used to it. Yeah, I know how it works, and just like when I had my store, I used to own a store. We sold mostly PSE, and guys that come in, it's like, looking at new stuff, and it's like, um, if you're not ready to buy, you don't want to shoot it because as soon as you shoot it, you're going to want to buy
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. That's what
And,
happened.
especially when you're upgrading from an older bow to a newer one, that they're just really nice. And you know, I just look at, when somebody comes in, what do they need, and
Right.
go from there. And
Yep.
so, what would you say to somebody that's coming in that's thinking about getting into archery?
I'm a huge, huge advocate. I always tell everybody, if you just try it, you're going to be addicted. um, it's whether you are choosing to go out and hunt, or if you're just choosing to do competitive shooting or fun leagues. I just think it is such a good sport. I love it, and I try to promote it as much as possible. I love bringing new shooters that haven't tried it before and kind of get them introduced to it, or work with people who are just starting out. Um, and just try to really get them. I obviously, being a woman in this field, I'm a little bit of a minority, and so I really like trying to get other women or young girls into shooting as well. That's kind of a big passion of mine as well.
And it's a sport that anybody can do. You don't have to be an athlete to do archery.
Right. Absolutely.
It's all just fit the equipment to you.
Yep.
I don't know if you have anything like that up there, but Nebraska has a couple different programs, uh, specifically for women in the outdoors. And one of the things to do is teaching them archery.
Okay.
And the lady that runs it here in Nebraska, um, I've known her for many years, since the mid 90s. We were in the same archery club together. And she heads it up and I help her out on some of the archery stuff, teaching archery to the ladies. And they get real excited about it too. And
Yep.
I, I like when you're taking somebody that has never shot before, and it's like, I've had, guys come and get in a bow, and then the wife is there, and it's like, you want to shoot us? Oh no, well, just try, we'll set one up, let's just shoot once. Just shoot once and try it. And they shoot it, and it's like, oh, can I do it again?
Yeah.
You bet you can do it again. And again and
Exactly.
again. And it's like, and
Yep.
then now next thing you know, they're getting a bow and shooting. And that's the part that's really, I think, is really cool, when you get somebody new. Um, you know, just anybody that comes in and tries it and just so excited about, what this can do when that first arrow goes off. Um, that that's what gets a lot of them hooked, that
Yeah.
first shot.
It's a great feeling for sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I have two boys, and they both kind of started off with gun hunting, rifle hunting, and shooting with shotgun. And when they got about 13, 14 years old, I got them both into archery, and now they love it. So it's
yeah,
definitely a family affair.
yeah. It definitely helps that you're so passionate about archery.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that definitely helps. And it gets the kids out something to do.
Yes.
That you can play the video games all day long, but that don't really get you any skill. You can use the video archery games and shoot, but that's nothing. That don't mean you can go out and shoot an extra bow, because it's
Right.
completely different.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's one thing that's nice. You get your kids involved in it, and then it's things you can do together. And
Yep. I cherish every minute that they're in the woods with me. They're kind of adults now, so it's a little harder sometimes to
yeah,
to
yeah.
convince them. I have to really give them beg them sometimes, but they still love it, and are as passionate about it as I am. Really, just busy with kids and families now.
Yeah, I hear a lot of stories that, they'll start up in archery and then they have a family and stuff. And then as they get older, now next thing you know, they're introducing their kids and going hunting with their kids and
Yes.
shooting with their kids. And it's just a really, really kind of the cool thing about archery is you can pick it up and shoot it from, you know, 3 or 4 years old
Yes.
to 70, 80, 90 years old.
Hmm.
You can still shoot.
I can't wait to be dragging my grandkids out there and teaching them. So yeah, it's super exciting.
Well, it's kind of nice, but we can wait.
Yeah.
I'm already there. It's like it'd be nice to go back, but it's
Right.
it's not. So I imagine you've got some pretty cool hunting stories. Tell us about probably your most memorable hunt that you've been on.
Um, well, it's nothing that it's like too exciting. I guess I would say it's probably more sentimental to me. Being that I had mentioned that my dad taught me, how to hunt starting at an early age. We kind of lost him unexpectedly in 2019. Still have the family property that he had that I do probably 75% of my hunting on. And so being able to be in all of his stands and in his blinds still, I always say that he's been with me ever since he's been gone because I'm very successful every season, and I say it's him by my side. But there was my biggest buck to date is a 15 point, and he happened to be he I was walking out to my blind and he stopped me from the house. He said, "Hey, can I go sit with you today?" And it was like, heck yes, you can come sit with me today. So he came out with me, and I was kind of expecting truly not to see much because he likes to talk a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm very quiet when I'm out there, so I'm like, "Oh, we're probably not gonna see anything," but you know what? I'm making memories. And so we were kind of chatting a little bit, and then I was looking in a total opposite direction, and he tapped me, and he's like, "There's a big buck." And I looked over, and we were in a blind together, and actually had to kind of like shoot over him.
oh,
He had to lean back, and I had to shoot out that window to be it went perfectly, and yeah, so I would never forget that because it was such a fun day, but
and that's the kind of stories you come back with that you think of, many years later, and like you're able to hunt on your dad's property, and
yeah,
he's still with you, even though he's not with you, he's still with you,
yep,
and
absolutely.
that's really cool too,
Yep,
that you
absolutely.
can do that.
There's one particular blind that he kind of always would just go and sit in, and that I actually have shot out of I've about 90% of my bucks out of that same blind. So, yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a cool spot to go.
Yep.
Kind of started with a kind of an emotional story. That was
I know. I know. I know. Things you never forget. And that's, when I'm bringing my kids and hunting at that property, it just makes it all the more memorable and emotional at times. But we're always very excited when somebody gets something out of that blind because it's like, you know what? He was right there with us.
yeah. Well, um, hard to follow that one, but uh, um, maybe let's hear a story about one of your challenging hunts. Maybe your most challenging hunt you've been on.
No, I would say my most challenging hunt probably would go to turkey hunting. That is no easy easy feat typically. And so 2 years ago, it would have been a fall turkey. I had my youngest son out with me, and we just probably went over a 20 to 25 acre parcel just after this one particular bird, and he would come in front of my trail cams when we weren't there, and he would he played cat and mouse with us all season long. And so finally, on the very last day, we decided we were going to kind of just try to walk and stalk a little bit and see if we could not come across this bird. And we ended up getting it done. I ended up getting him. So that was probably my coolest story with one of my kids, and definitely the most challenging because he took me all season long for a ride.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like um, he kind of had your number, but Made a mistake at the end.
He did. It was always a joke because we'd always would go somewhere and be like, you know what, we're gonna check the when the trail camera goes off, it's gonna be that bird. And sure enough,
It
every time
was, yeah.
he'd be like right there.
Yeah, that's uh, definitely memories out in the field, hunting. And we all have stories that we've hunted. I grew up, kid hunting, mostly with shotguns for pheasants. And and in later years, as more of an adult, I picked up more archery for hunting.
You're right.
I picked up my first bow in the 60s,
Okay.
uh, back before there was compound bows.
Right, right.
Yeah, or carbon arrows. Yeah, you had your choice of wood, aluminum, or fiberglass, depending on what you was going to do, and recurve or longbow and wood or fiberglass.
Yep.
That was it. And you know, they've come a long way since those times. And
No, they sure have. And every year something changes.
yeah, yeah, they change them, and you think they're about done, and then something else comes out. And
Yep.
at some point they're going to kind of reach some of the limits. Um, I know they're trying to get, faster and faster bows and shorter, and a short, fast bow is hard to control.
It is. It is.
And I don't understand it. So the shorter the bow, the harder it is to control because it just wants to move on you.
It does.
When you think about why do the tightrope rockers have this great big 10 long pole? Because it can't move quick.
You're right.
And you can take the same thing, take a broom, try and move it quick, and take a pencil, try and move it quick. And that's what you have to deal with. And that's why it's important to have, good form, and
Yep.
get along with somebody, get a coach to help you. And so have you had many coaches?
As far as me coaching
Y-
or
Yeah, coaches that you've had that
um
you've taken from.
doing the archery leagues, they give you a lot of, that's like I said, that was back kind of in my teens. I you learn a lot, because you can pick up a bow and you can think that you can fling an arrow and you're okay, but there's a whole lot more to it than
There is.
just don't want to go jump in a tree stand and attempt that. You do need to have someone that can mentor you and show you the proper ways to do it and teach you different techniques. And um, so yeah, I mean, I definitely don't ever recommend to anybody just go buy a bow and just go try to hunt. It's a
Yeah,
lot. It's a lot of practice, and I think joining like leagues and fun leagues are such a great thing to start off in, because it can teach you so much prior to going out into the woods. Because once you let that arrow go at an animal, you're committed, and it's either going to go well
right.
or it's not, and you need to be responsible for that.
Yeah, it's so you was able to get into some leagues and have some good mentors in, other archers that have been there.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
And I value all of that still to this day, because there's things that I learned from people who had shot for years and years prior to me that give you ideas and tips and tricks. And um, yeah, so I definitely recommend it to anybody that's starting out.
and that's a good way to start off with, join a league like you did, and have them, that help you. As long as you're open to learn, you're going to
Right.
learn.
Right.
Uh,
Because when you're in that environment, there's no pressure. Everybody's going in there to learn. So it's you don't have to you're learning it easily, and from people who know what they're doing, and you don't feel like you have to be the best of the best. But it starts you out, and you can get there.
Yeah, and then once you get going, then you can decide if you want to go a little bit more. Then you can say, okay, get you a coach that's working one-on-one with you.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
the thing I've seen in a lot of difference where each person is going to coach a little bit differently. And then if you start listening to the first one, second, third, next thing you know, you're confused because they're all teaching something a little different.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
you know, Now if you're lucky, they're all teaching the same thing, just a different way.
Right. And I think that tends to be what it is. Everyone always has like their little tricks of maybe the way to hold a bow, but it doesn't work for everybody. So you do have to
Right.
you learn along the way for sure. But getting those fundamentals, from someone who truly knows what they're doing when you're learning is, I think, very, very important.
Yeah, pick the shooter that's shooting really good. your top
Right.
shooters.
Right.
Watch them and listen to them. Don't take the guy, listen to the guy that's coming in just barely above you.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
You know, find a person that's constantly winning and just watch them and see what they're doing. You know,
Yep.
analyze, you know, how they hold on their bow, what's their draw process, what's, you know, how they using the release. Is it a wrist strap or a handheld, or is it a hinge, or you know, if they're you're in the, you know, fingers, then you know, how are they releasing? Watch all those things. You can learn a lot by watching a shooter that is doing really well.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's the best thing you can do, truly.
Yeah, and then you watch some of the hunting shows, and it's like, dude, you need to come to me and learn how to shoot correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I've seen some of those. I haven't watched the hunt shows, you know, recently, but you'll see them with their finger up there, and next thing you know, they're just cramming on the trigger.
Punching it.
You know, just punching that trigger from way out. I've seen people do that. The fingers like locked straight out, and then they just, I
Yeah.
just jerk back on the trigger, and
Down and yeah.
uh, yeah, yeah, okay. When you have
Yeah.
target panic, come to
Right.
me. We'll
Yep.
teach you not to pull the trigger.
Exactly.
That's kind of always my first lesson is, you know, there's several guys that have done this too. It's like, you know, find if they're an archer, and it's just, I use a wrist strap, and he says, yeah. So I'll give you first lesson free. Quit pulling the trigger. And I say, how do you want to do that? I've been teaching since, well, almost 30 years now. So yeah, you're pulling the trigger.
Right. Exactly.
And then we try and explain it to them. If they don't understand it, you're done. They're not going to learn.
Right. Yeah, if you're kind of closed-minded to getting tips and tricks and a little critiquing, it's probably not gonna go well for you. Yeah,
No, because most of your coaches, yeah, if you're not going to try what I'm suggesting,
right.
then there's no reason for me to waste my time
Yep,
because I
absolutely.
got somebody that's interested. You
Yep.
know,
I
it,
think that most people who are getting into it for, truly for the sport and they want to be serious about it, I think that I have found that they're very willing to listen and learn and kind of crave that to be able to make themselves better. Um, I would most of the time anyways.
yeah, yeah.
But there's some people who just want to think that they know everything right off the bat and you can't do much,
Let
but
them go.
you can try.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of, I seen a video many years ago. This guy got somebody else's bow, obviously way too overpowered for him. He couldn't draw it back. And he's struggling. Finally gets it back, and the hand holding the bow, it slips out of his hand. So
Oh,
now he's
no.
got the string, and the bow comes
Oh,
back and smacks him.
no.
It's like, I was just laughing. It's like, okay, you should have been trying to pull it back one.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that could have been bad.
yeah. Well, it's not good when the bow comes back at you. I actually had one break in half back when they had the poured risers instead of
Uh-huh.
the machined aluminum ones. Um, I was getting ready for hunting, and I'm trying to get, you know, make sure my sights are in, and I'm adjusting my sights. And I shoot again. I got to adjust them again. I'm shooting again, constantly, just constantly moving. Well, what was happening was the bow was slightly starting to bend before it broke, and of
Oh,
course that throws all your sights off.
yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm going to go up closely. So I drew back, and as soon as I shot, I'm holding the bottom half of the bow, and the top half comes back and smacks me in the chest.
Oh,
They're like, okay,
yeah.
two is for hunting season. My
Right.
only bow.
Yeah, that's a scary thing when things like that happen. I know if you ever did you ever do the techno hunt? Like where you
Uh,
it's like in front of a big movie screen and just like two shooters
oh
with the
yeah, yeah, yeah. You
and
put the little mushroom points on them, and
yeah, yep, that
yeah,
was something that my boys and I used to love to do when they kind of were everywhere. Now they're very hard to find, but I was in with my oldest son Clay one time, and we were just nose to nose in competition of who was going to win this thing. And like, it's dark, and he went and picked up his bow, and he pulled back, and he forgot to load an arrow.
oh no,
So excited, and we're in that dark room, and you just hear this crack, and his whole bowl exploded, and so
yeah,
it's like you do get wrapped up sometimes when you're in the competition of things, but
yeah. And that sound is, and when you dry fire a bow, kind of
Oh,
it just kind of makes your stomach turn.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say,
it's
it
like
makes your heart break.
yeah, yeah. It's I've heard them a couple of times, but don't like to hear them too often.
Oh, no.
N- Normally that means the bow is damaged in some way.
Yes. Yep.
You want to have my shop that every once in a while somebody come in, axle's bent. It's a hardened steel axle. There's nothing in that bow that hard. How do you bend it? Well, if you dropped it possibly on the camera would be destroyed.
Right.
You dry fired it.
You're out. Don't they
Yeah,
don't want to they don't want to admit
don't
it.
want to admit, yeah. And then others come in, and it's like, oh, okay, it's been derailed, for one reason or another. And I ask them, did you dry fire it? No. Like, okay, if it was dry fired, I'm going to do some other checking. And if there's a defect in it, it could come apart when you shoot next time.
Right.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I dry fired it. Okay. Because now then you're going to expect the limbs a little closer. If it just come off, there's ways it can come off. You draw back and you have a death grip on your bow, you let down. Most times it's that string is going to come off.
Yeah.
Not a dry fire, put them back on. Um, you're good to go. Make sure the string is not cut. If it's dry fire, yeah, you're taking the cotton balls and alcohol and rubbing down the limbs, make sure there's no cracks in it, and
Oh yeah.
uh, and then you're going to inspect a whole lot of other things. But
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, it's like they don't admit they dry fired it.
No, no one ever likes to, but it happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of us that have done it, and some bows will take it, some bows won't take it at all.
Yeah.
A dry fire and they blow up 100% of the time.
Hmm.
Uh, I seen when I was down, I was a PSC dealer, and Archer Research is one that PSC had. I don't know if they still do that one or not, but somebody dry fired it. Didn't hurt it a bit.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. There was a story I'd heard about. Pete Shapley took one of his bows to a tournament, and he shot twice as many times as the other shooters because he'd shoot an arrow, dry fire it, shoot an arrow, dry fire it,
Oh
to
wow.
prove how tough his bow was. It's like that's got some guts to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then there's others, like the Matthews have been known. If you dry fire them, you're replacing parts.
Oh yeah.
Um, they're not the only one. A lot of most bows, if you dry fire them, you're replacing parts.
Fixing something.
Yeah, and yeah, any of the compound crossbows, if you dry fire those, one, you had to work at it to dry fire it, because
You're
most of them have a safety, so
not.
you can't pull the trigger if the arrow's not in there. But if
Right.
you did dry fire it for some reason, yeah, you're getting a whole new front end of that crossbow,
Oh, for
because
sure.
none of them are going to take it.
Yep.
Even the top end ones, they're not going to take it. Especially these new ones. I don't know what they got now. The side, they're real
Tiny.
narrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is kind of weird on how this works. So, um, I've never shot one of those little small ones like that, but
I haven't either. They're pretty impressive though, those little ravens. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they look like a pretty decent little crossbow.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't shot one either, so I don't know. They just kind of look kind of different.
Hmm. And it's amazing nowadays how the range that crossbows have on them. I
Yeah,
mean, they can shoot 100 yards, which
yeah.
is crazy.
Well, you can shoot a compound 100 yards. You
Yeah.
just got to have enough pin space to
Right.
sight them in.
We've done some fun shoots, like 3D shoots where, we would shoot 60, 70, 80 yards away, into a target. And that's a good time, but I don't know that I would take that risk actually out in the field, but
Yeah, that's my trouble nowadays is I can't see well enough at those distances to
yeah.
to make a good shot. So yeah,
Yeah.
when you have blurry pins and blurry target, that don't make for a good shot.
Just come a little closer.
Yeah, yeah, that close is there. And I've had times when I was out with the rifle and deer's at 100 yards, and it's like, oh, that's too far. Wait a minute, get out of bow hunting mind, because I'm
Right.
always thinking, bow hunting distances and
Right.
ranges, and
40 yards. Yeah.
When I go out something a little farther, if I do grab a rifle for deer season, it's like, okay, I know how my gun is set up. So I know the ranges, how I can do it. And that, same thing with my pins. I know that this pin is good from this range of this one. And I have 5 pins on my sight, so I always use multiple pins. You just got to remember to pick one,
You're right.
which
Yep.
I forgot to do a couple times. Forgot to do it one time and completely missed this deer. It was like, 10, 15 yards away. I didn't even come close to hitting it. I
Yeah.
drew back and it's like, I was just looking at the deer. I forgot to put my pins over it. If I'd have put all my pins over the deer, it'd have been good. I didn't
Exactly.
put any pin on it.
Heat of the moment sometimes gets you.
Yeah. And it wasn't too long after that. I was up there and I had another deer come walking in and I shot it. I heard it run off. It sounded like it crashed, but you know, you don't always know for sure.
Right.
And I waited a while to get down, pull out my arrow, and no blood really on the arrow. I'm like, did I miss? You can see a little bit. It might be I hit some fat or something.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking around and I walk about probably 15, 20 feet, and here's some blood trail. Now, a 5-year-old could have tracked that deer. In fact, a month later, you could still track it.
Right.
It just, there was no blood, but then all of a sudden, tons and tons all over the grass. And sure enough, where I heard it crash down is where it was at. And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I guess I'm not messing up as bad as I thought. So I
I
remembered,
yeah,
that one time is the first time I always forgot to pick a pin.
I had that no blood thing happened last year with the buck that I got last year. And it was like, I just had myself convinced that I missed. And I'm like, I don't know how, I don't know, but something happened because like the reaction of the deer and everything was so perfect. But it was like, you get down and it's nothing, so I called in everybody to come help me track, like, well, there's got to be something. I was so confident. And we tracked for probably 70, 80 yards and we could not find blood anywhere. And then my son was walking. He's like, oh, it's right there. It's
Oh,
oddly, it just never bled. It was bizarre, but we
yeah,
recovered.
yeah.
The important part. Sometimes you have to call in the reinforcements and help you out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably had it was probably low enough that, a little bit low exit, and
Just
then all the internals plugged it up, and then had it plugged on the side and never filled up and started coming out. And
yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, those are the times that it breaks your heart for, while you're walking because you hate to ever think of hitting something and not recovering it, or you're hoping maybe I just didn't hit it. And then when you find it, you're like, oh,
yeah,
thank goodness. But
yeah, it's kind of nice when it's like, oh, there it is.
yeah, exactly.
I had one come in and I wanted to move my stand up further north because it was getting down to me too late in the night. They coming out after shooting time, so I know they're coming from there. So I wanted to move up to a spot of it further up, and I was like, I want to be in my stand at 4 o'clock, because they getting down about 5:30. So I figured that'd be good enough. So I get in my stand up there. It's like 4:05, something like that, just a little after 4. And it wasn't 10 minutes later, here comes this doe trotting down the lane. And I come up and I'm thinking, okay, do I follow it or just the timing is like, okay, and so I shot and then end up getting a little bit far back on it. So after about an hour or so, I got down and I we started tracking it. I got down earlier and okay, I found the first drop of blood. So I'm like, okay, at least, I knew I hit it.
Right.
And then we're tracking little bitty drops of blood, not much. And then we're about 30 yards away, and this deer gets up, runs off. Go
Oh,
up, look up, sure enough, pool of blood. That was the deer. So he's okay, we're stopping, gonna walk out, and then we know where we come back in and start. The problem was I was talking about 3 inches of snow that night,
oh,
but we couldn't track anymore because it was not a good hit.
hmm,
We had to just let it lay down. So we come back the next night because I had to work. Come back next night, and the guy I hunt with and his son were there, and I said, "We're looking for a lump of snow."
yep,
And I come across it, and we found it. And the next night, it was down into teens,
yeah.
and the legs were frozen, body was still warm.
Oh, wow.
And so I found a lump of snow, and there it was, about
Yep.
30 yards. It's all it went, and laid down again.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, don't chase.
Exactly. What's that? When in doubt, back out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stop and get back out.
That's hard. That's hard to do sometimes because you're in that adrenaline rush of what just happened, and you just want to be confident. No, I'm just gonna go a little bit. It's gonna be there. Not always the case.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
imagine you've got
yeah.
some tracking stories that'd be interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's out, between me and the boys and different hunters that you take out that are new. It doesn't always. I mean, no hunter's gonna ever say that it goes perfectly. There's always times you do have to put some tracking skills in place, and that's. But I enjoy that part of it too, though. It's so fun watching somebody recover their deer. It's
Yeah,
a it's a good feeling.
especially a new archer that gets out there, or but not just archer, it's a new hunter,
Yep.
that shoots a deer, whether they shoot with a bow or a crossbow or a gun or slug or whatever. It's getting out there and tracking that first one. And
Yeah. It's very, very cool. I am very passionate about it, about archery and hunting in general, but it's like now I've done it for so long. I probably get as much joy out of taking new people out and watching them experience it for the first time, and being able to kind of live that with them just as much as I enjoy being able to go out and do it myself.
that's kind of a common theme for those archers that have been hunting for a few years, and got out there and now taking the new archer out or new hunter out, and seeing their first hunt out, whether they kill an animal or not. It's always something. It's good to see them enjoying it, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is fun. Can I do it again?
Yeah.
Can we go again? And it's like, oh yeah, of course we can go again.
Yeah, they have their first success and they're typically hooked just as much as you are. And it's fun to kind of live that with them. Very cool.
Yeah, that is. And it also helps keep the sport going too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because without hunters, you would be overpopulated on some of the animals until diseases kill them off,
Yep. Yep.
because that's what happens.
Oh, absolutely.
There's population control, whether the wild animals get to eat them or we get to eat them.
Yep. Or
That's the
car
choice.
or
Who
whatever.
gets to eat them?
Exactly.
So are you doing any coaching yourself then?
Um, I will actually be having two different people that I'm going to be kind of working with starting the beginning of the next month, kind of getting them prepared. They both have hunted in the past, but are wanting help to kind of get a little better, get a little more experience under their belt. So we're going to start that at the beginning of the next month and kind of work hot and heavy up until opening day.
When's opening day up there?
We're October 1st.
October 1st, a little bit
Yep,
later.
we have an early doe that starts 2 weeks prior to that. I don't typically do much with that. I kind of like to stay out of the woods, as much as possible till October 1st. But yeah, we do have an early doe season and a late doe season here. We have a 2 buck limit here. We're under point restrictions because of different diseases and things that have taken place. So we kind of have to be a little particular on our deer now. So yeah, I like to kind of watch them and pattern them, through the early seasons, and then once October 1st hits, I like to just be out there and kind of focus on that because you can get does a lot. We have a very overabundance of does here, so they're kind of being very laxed on giving out doe permits, and so it's going to be interesting to see. DNR has made some changes. Um, Not everybody agrees it's for the best, but you kind of have to go with the flow.
Yeah. So you got point restrictions. How's that work?
So we're 4 points on one side. So typically you're hoping you have an 8 point buck come in, but it could be a 4 on one side and oddly 2 on another or 3 on another. And but that's the point restrictions now, and that's kind of across the board for everybody. There's different like townships that will have a little bit different restrictions. The further north you get towards the UP and stuff, it changes for them. They're still allowed to bait up there. They can where we can't. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of different rules, kind of by county. But for the most part, Montcalm County and Mecosta County, where I hunt, we're under that point restriction. So it makes it interesting. But I'm not necessarily against that. You're growing some bigger deer when people can't just go out and shoot whatever walks in front of them.
Yeah.
So
Well, and you should let the smaller ones go and take the bigger ones anyway. But
and that's what you
there's some
hope.
areas where if it's a deer, they shoot it. They don't care.
Yes, and unfortunately, that's a lot around where I'm at. It kind of, if it's brown, it's down.
Right.
That's the old adage, and there's a lot of people who hunt by that. They're hunting. I hunt for meat. I don't hunt for horns. Well, right, then shoot a doe.
Right.
That's kind of my theory, but not everybody agrees with it.
And like you can't eat the horns. And I when I go out hunt, I'm mostly hunting for does.
Yes.
If a
Yep.
buck comes by that's decent, I'll take the shot.
Yep.
But um, I'm hunting for the does because I want meat in the freezer. And um, once I was up and it was Mike and I were hunting, and he was down the hill from me, and I was up towards top of the hill, and all of a sudden this perfectly shaped 8 point, four on each side, come up. Now the tines were only like an inch to 3 inches tall. They're really small. He's really skinny, and I'm looking at him, and uh, he didn't look like he was sick. He just looked like a young buck,
Right.
just growing a nice rack. And I'm sitting there watching him because he wasn't sick. If he's sick, then I'd have probably shot him. But I wasn't going to shoot him. And all of a sudden, Mike comes walking up the hill. He had shot one, didn't want to wait. And so I was giving crap about chasing it off my 8 point.
Right.
Yeah, it only had 1 inch to 3 inch tines, but still.
Yeah, still an 8 point.
Yeah, yeah. It's the fact that he chased it off.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I've told this on the podcast at all, but I sit in the same tree stand. All of a sudden, here comes this deer. He had shot a deer, run up past me, and it's running past me, and it headbutts a tree and falls over.
Oh,
It was running, and he had shot it. It was running, and full stride, it ended up died, and then run into the tree and it fell over. And I was like, I thought it was funny. It's like this deer comes up and headbutts a tree.
that's so funny.
Yeah, there's always funny stories. And um, I imagine you've probably had, if you're well, you had a lot of blinds then.
Well, tree stands and ground
Oh,
and blinds. I I prefer to shoot turkeys out of blinds, and then obviously deer hunt out of a tree stand. But
you've probably had some times with some interesting things happen while you're in that tree stand.
I have. Yeah, but I always say it's amazing what you can see when you are sitting in the woods. I had 2 years ago. There was just squirrels everywhere, and they get super frustrating on their own.
Yeah.
And they're just running around everywhere, and all of a sudden it was like dead silence. And I was overlooking a field, and a hawk came down, and it swooped up a squirrel right in front of me, and it gets lands, and it's just bouncing around with this thing. And it was just the things you can see in nature that you would never see if you were not out there. It's pretty cool when nothing knows you're around.
Yeah, that's the coolest part. The stories you have. Yeah, not just because you're out there and you kill the deer or turkey or whatever. Some of the other things that happen are just as memorable as the hunt. And sometimes those you remember those. You don't always remember the ones where you actually shot that deer and recovered it. Nothing unusual happened about it. You shot it, you trailed it, and you cleaned it. You field dressed it, brought it home, and ate it.
Yeah.
It's some of the other stories that it is really the cool stories to hear.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think some of my best mean, you can sit in a tree stand and not even decide to pick up your bow at anything, and it's like the most time to reflect, and you're one with nature, and that's probably what I love, the most is just the sport in general, but being able to sit there and kind of just decompress, and it's got me through a lot in life.
Yeah. Yeah, there is something sitting in a tree stand. I know when I had my store, it was just so busy. The store going and going and going and going. And hunting season, I'm sitting in a tree stand, and it took me several times out where I could finally just relax and enjoy being out there. Everything you're thinking, I was like, I gotta do this, gotta do this, and you're not even paying attention to the forest. You're just thinking about all these things that you got to get done, and finally you relax enough to go out there and it's like I'll sit back and just enjoy and not think of anything.
Yes. Yep. Yep. It's good for the soul. That is for sure.
Yeah, kind of like the Ted Nugent song "Fred Bear."
Yeah. One of my boys and I's favorite. That's like our tradition to start off every hunting season.
Oh,
But yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Definitely.
if your listeners haven't listened, check out the Ted Nugent song "Fred Bear." It's a uh, really cool song, and it's got some good points in it,
It does.
and it points at, it's kind of emotional at some points, kind of, and out of an old rocker like that, you wouldn't expect something like that, but Ted Nugent's a big archer.
Oh, he is very big. Yep.
Yeah,
Very.
I've met him a couple of times.
Yep.
They had a here in Omaha, they had an outdoor expo, and a couple of years he was down here, and met him a couple times, and it's kind of cool.
Yep. That is very cool. He's a very good guy. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, he's not any big promoter of that, and not like all the rockers during his time period that all into drugs and stuff, and he
Right.
wasn't. you know
Yep. And a lot of people don't believe that just because of the way he looks, but it's
oh,
true.
yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, well, like you used to say, they were all in the drugs, and they're all dead, and he's still Ted, so he's still rocking and shooting his bow.
Yep, exactly.
They kind of don't go along too well.
No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. It's like you said, it's not a sport that everybody that's like super physically fit has, most anybody can pick up a bow and learn it, but you do have to have a clear mind, and you do have to, not you have to be in a good place to be able to be successful for sure.
And if you're stressed, it's real hard to shoot your bow. So you either have to put it up or relax,
Yeah.
to shoot it. Because if you have anything else going in your mind, you're not gonna hit anything. You're just gonna be more frustrated. So you got to clear all that out
Yeah,
and just
absolutely.
focus on where you want that arrow to go. And like I say, be the arrow.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. If you're not feeling it, you're just going to get mad at every arrow that doesn't hit where you where you want it to hit, and yeah, there's sometimes you just have to walk away from it because your mind's not there, and that's the best thing to do. Otherwise, you can really psych yourself out if you are negative. So it is best to clear your mind, walk away, and start over again.
Yeah, and if you're preparing for a tournament and you have to shoot, that's one thing. But if you're just out shooting for fun and you pick up your bow and shoot a couple of rounds and it's just not feeling it, the bow up.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it's probably not going to get any better.
No, it's not. I yeah, had to hit the cough button.
That's okay. That's okay.
I didn't want to cough in everybody's ears, but yeah, it's there's a lot to different practice techniques. I know I've talked to a couple guys, and it's like he'll go out and shoot. He'd say go out and shoot one arrow a day.
Yeah.
One arrow, one arrow counts. When we're hunting, how many shots do we get?
Right. Right.
One.
Hmm.
So when he's out working, to try and get that first shot has got to be the one that counts. Go out and shoot one arrow, perfect arrow. Now, if you're going out working on, other techniques and stuff, then you can't just shoot one arrow a day and expect to be good, because you get anything and you're going to need to shoot more than one shot.
Yeah.
If you go to any shoots or go to practice. Um, but one perfect shot is better than 100 imperfect ones.
Right. Yep. Oh, absolutely. If you get it kind of on a streak of not getting where you're wanting to hit, it gets frustrating. It gets really frustrating, and
Yeah.
you can definitely psych yourself out. So it is, the walking away and try it again the next day is kind of a great theory.
Well, and in the last few podcasts, we've talked about, struggles that people are, that they've had, and others are having the same ones, between target panic and all kinds of different things, and you get bad habits in there, and there's someone to talk to. It's like they just had to walk away from it for a couple months.
Yep.
They put the compound down and picked up a recurve,
Hmm.
start shooting it, and then go back to compound. Now your bad habits are worked out, and sometimes that's what you have to do, is just walk away. And I've seen this a few times where somebody's been out of archery for a while, and they were kind of at this level, and then they come back, and it's like, okay, they get a coach or something, and now they come back and they're actually at a way higher level,
Yep.
because they got all that, they listened to the coach got teaching them a better way of doing it. uh,
Yep.
the techniques have come along a long ways.
Oh, absolutely. And will always remember when I first kind of started out, I had a nice bow, but it was, was it a Matthew, like this is dating me, but like a Matthews Menace was
Ah,
like, it was a youth, but women could use it, so I was just kind of starting off with that one. And, you'd have all these people coming to these leagues that were just starting off, and, they're spending thousands of dollars on these bows, but they're a beginner. And I just
yeah,
remember the coach saying, it's not your equipment, it's the shooter. You can have a bow that's 10 years old and a brand new bow. It's still going to be who's behind the bow. That's
right.
going, it's not the equipment, does it help? Absolutely. But inevitably it's the shooter, and it's you learning the techniques and you learning how to properly handle a bow and shoot a bow, way before you have to worry about having the best of the best equipment compared to the next person.
Yeah, probably the two most important factors for getting tight groups, um, besides technique, is release and your arrows.
Yeah.
That's going to do more for tight groups, is your straightest arrows you can get, and a good quality release, and the proper technique.
Yep.
The rest of it
Absolutely.
doesn't matter. You can shoot a 30-year-old bow
Hmm.
or a 3-day-old bow. Doesn't matter. If those three things aren't there, you're not going to shoot it very good.
Absolutely. And there's so much trial and error because it is, there's so much on the market to be able to choose from. A lot of people will just go and they'll set me up a bow, and they'll let a bow shop kind of just set them up with what they, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you, because everybody
No,
is different. And so you might go through three or four different types of arrows and a couple different, maybe a hand release or a wrist, and you just have to find what works for you. What works for one person doesn't work for the other. That's, I think, what probably a lot of people make mistakes on, because they go by what someone tells them they need to use, and it's not always that way. It doesn't always work.
yeah. Well, and there's a lot too. There's a lot of peer pressure, and it's like, and I had people come into my store and say, well, I'm going to get this, but next one I'm going to get the best.
Yeah.
Well, what's the best? Well, Matthews. No, they're not the best. They're good bows. I
Right.
had one. I
Yep.
set it up, shoot perfect holes with my arrows when I first set it up. But are they the best? No.
Right.
Are they the worst? Oh, no way.
Hmm.
But it's just all fitting it. It's got to fit you.
Yep.
I like to tell a story. It's like, um, PSE bought Browning Archery, and one of the bows they come up with on the top limb was counter rotating cams. One would rotate one way, the other rotate the other direction. I was like, that's pretty cool. It's like,
Right.
I think I want to set this up and shoot this bow. I set it up. I could never get it to fit me, no
Right.
matter what I did. And this is what I was doing for a living, was setting up bows. I know how to set up a bow. I've set up hundreds of bows, at this point. And I just could not get that bow to fit me. Nothing I tried would get me to fit. And it's like, that's not a bow for me to shoot.
Yeah.
It just don't fit me.
Yeah.
And you're going to find that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, like with me preferring Bowtech over anything else, there'll be people who are like, "Oh, I hate Bowtech." Like you said, Matthews is the best or Hoyt is the best. Well, my oldest son Clay, he was in a archery competition and he was just shooting this Hoyt fantastically. So he had me convinced I needed to jump over to the Hoyt side. So I was shooting for an archery shop at the time. So I said, set me up with this certain Hoyt bow that I had my mind set on. It was probably the worst season I ever ever had. And it's nothing against Hoyt, but it's like he could do phenomenal and win everything he went to. And it was like I could hardly hit the broadside of a barn. So I mean it's I just you have your preference and what works for one person definitely is not going to work for the next.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point where I tell new archers, go to the pro shop. If you want to order it on online, fine, but you get what you get. Is
Yeah,
it going to fit you? Maybe, maybe not.
right.
I've seen some advertising, knowing what to look for. I zoom in and look at the string. So it's only been shot a few times. The string is worn out, dude. It's
Right.
all fuzzy. It's been shot a whole lot more times than just a few shots. It needs a new string. You're looking $100 to $200 for a new set of strings and cables.
Right.
And it's not such a good deal. Go to the pro shop, have them make sure you're shooting either right or left-handed, depending on what's your dominant eye. Make sure
Yeah.
you're shooting your dominant eye, unless you have a physical problem that you can't do that, which I've run into that a few times. Um, so now okay, let's just say you need a left-handed bow. Go to the shop, pick up every left-handed bow in your right hand. How does it feel in your hand? Now, if you have a budget, then only pick up the ones in your budget, because
Right.
the higher
You'll
ones,
you'll
you're
overspend.
probably going to feel a little better. Um,
Yeah.
but put them in your hand. If you like the way it feels, have them set it up for you, shoot it. And it's like, okay, go grab another one. Okay, I like the way this one feels. Set up, shoot it. Decide which one you like better. And then if you want to look at the other ones, grab another one.
Yep.
Problem running into most shops don't have many left-handed bows. So
Mhm.
left-handed shooters are a little disadvantaged.
You're right.
Um, I sold 40% of my bows I sold the last year I had in my store was left-handed.
Oh, wow.
And I don't 40% of the population is not left-handed,
Right.
because I stocked left-handed bows.
Dominant eye or yeah.
Yeah, I stocked left-handed bows just simply for that reason. I didn't stock as many of them, but um, you know, would
They
you
were
want to go in as a right-hander and shoot left-handed bows to see if you like it or not?
right. Yeah,
So
you're not
I
gonna
I stocked them. So,
yeah.
and then shoot them. If you haven't decided yet, go shoot another one. Maybe go to a different shop, because sometimes they carry different brands.
Right.
And try out the Bowtech, the PSEs, the Matthews, but you got to open your wallet to get the Matthews, because
Yeah.
most of those are real high dollar ones.
Yeah.
Hoyt kind of the same way. Um, and I just tell them, just look for one of the ready to shoot packages. You have your sights, you have your quiver, you have your rest on it. Some of them come with a sling. Some, may even come with a stabilizer. Uh, I haven't seen any come with arrows. That's when I had my store. Mine did.
Oh,
My
that
my PSE Novas, or the Dan Fitzgerald bows, whatever, depending on what yours is, they come with 6 arrows,
okay.
because nobody could price compare that bow, because that bow was sold every place. You go
Right.
to Walmart and get that bow,
Right.
but you couldn't get it with a release. This string silencers on it, the half a dozen arrows, and shooting instruction and set up.
Yeah.
That was all included with my bows.
Yeah, that's
You
great.
bought it from Walmart, you're paying me $40 to set up your bow,
Oh, right.
and $100 an hour to teach you how to shoot it,
Yeah.
all included with the bows. So I even had guys take bows back because the value I was giving extra to the bow.
Yeah.
But get one of those all set up. and ready to go. And hopefully if you're at a shop that they're going to teach you how to shoot when they get the bow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you can't find a shop like that, then just keep looking because it's
Right.
super important. There, I mean, I've been in shops before where I've watched new people come in and the shops get frustrated with them because they just keep trying to set up bows for them and it's not, but you have to be patient and you have to find a shop that's willing to let you maybe go in and try 5 different things. If you want to make the sale, you're gonna let somebody try the bows, and because it is like you said, it's not universal. They're definitely not a one size fits all.
Right. And my thoughts was I'm going to sell you like the Nova bow, which was your $300 bow at that time. Of course, that's been 20 years ago, but the low end bow, I want to sell you that low end package because you don't know what sights you like. Maybe you want a different rest. Where I do push them on to was a little bit higher end release, a good
Hmm.
quality release. You know, a lot of them like your Scott releases are really good. Your True Balls are good. They've got a lot of different releases out there that are good. Get a good quality one that has a good trigger in it, and then sell them that, and then later on they're going to want to come in and get better quality arrows because I wouldn't sell the high dollar arrows to a new beginner because their form's not there yet.
Yes.
And then once they go through those, then get them into a little bit better arrow, a little bit better arrow. And then at some point they're going to want a better sight. So they're going to come in and buy another sight.
Hmm.
Then later they'll come in and want a little better rest on there. Maybe they want a drop away rest or something and do that. And the next thing you know is they want a different bow. And you switch all the new stuff over to the other bow and then put the other stuff back on. And now they have either a second bow or they can get rid of the bow, sell the bow or give it to somebody or something.
Yeah.
So if you treat that first new archer right and don't sell them stuff they don't need, they're going to come back and buy more stuff from you.
Oh, absolutely. I
I,
agree with that 100%.
I had one guy that I sold him something was, and he tell this other guy he drove in quite a ways just to buy from me because he knew I wouldn't try and sell him stuff he didn't need.
Hmm.
Like in stabilizers. You had your $10 stabilizer, your 30, your 50, $60 stabilizer, and I'd put the $10 one on and have them shoot it. Put the higher dollar one on, shoot that. Can tell difference? Nope, buy the cheap one.
Right. Exactly.
If they can't tell the difference, why spend the money? I,
Right.
I I was kind of my mentality was don't spend the money if you don't need to.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's why I'm still shooting 2001 and 2003 bows.
It works. It works. What's that? If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Well, you do have to fix the strings once in a while, but
Yeah, yeah.
because how much you shoot, how much you care for it, and then you want to wax your string. Now they got that scorpion wax, which is really good stuff. I always use the other stuff, and I'd tell the guys that get their bow and I see you need string wax. I was like, use it. Don't be afraid to use it. You're gonna lose it before you ever use it up.
Oh,
Had one guy left it on the counter. Walked out, here's this string wax sitting on the counter. It's like, okay, next time coming, it's like, I told you you're gonna lose it before you use it up. As I didn't expect you to lose it the first day. Here's your wax.
yeah. There is a lot to maintaining them and making sure they're safe and they're shooting right and take care of your equipment and it takes care of you is what they say, right?
Yeah. Well, and if something's not feeling right, there's probably a reason why it's not feeling right.
Yeah.
And you can quickly take a look, okay, is it me just not into it or is there something wrong with it and check it out. And if you're not expected as an archer, you're not expected to know how to work on your own equipment.
You're right.
Uh, that's a whole nother skill to learn is how to work on your own equipment. And if you're not sure, take it to a shop.
Yeah.
Find a shop that you like, find a bow tech that you like working on your bow, and only let him work on it or her
Mm.
work on it.
Yeah,
Let
absolutely.
that tech work on it because now you know what they're doing. They know your bow, you know them, and you just like, here, this is what's going on. If we give it back, okay, it's done.
Hmm.
I've talked to some archers that they won't work on their own equipment
Yeah.
because if something's going wrong. Now the question, okay, did I do this right? Did I get this right? Did I get this right? Did I get this right? And that takes that thing out of their mind. So just like, okay, not shooting right, it's me. because my tech set it up, it's perfect.
Yep.
So that takes one thing out of there.
Yep.
Then there's others that, okay, I don't trust nobody else to get it perfect like I want it.
Right, right.
But you know,
I'm a take it to a shop person. I like to know, that it's been set up by a professional and it's paper tuned and it's, that all that is super important to being successful too. It's finding a good bow shop is, I think, critical.
yeah, that is. It's important to take it to somebody. You can go, you can ask these different, Facebook groups and forums and stuff, but you're getting an opinion of somebody on there. Now, fortunately, in the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group, we have people that are bow techs in here
Hmm.
that are going to answer your questions. So if you have questions, just post your question. You know, if you like the answer, go with it. If you don't like the answer, well, somebody else might have a different answer.
Yeah.
Try something out. As well as, if you're having trouble with your form, I just kind of a plug to the group. Go ahead and upload a video of you shooting, and
Right.
we'll critique it.
Yep.
There's a lot we can do nowadays with the video because I can take the video and I can put it in my video editor and I can actually frame advance it.
Mhm.
I can put it in there if I can't see anything. I can look and see exactly do frame by frame. Just
Yeah.
hit an arrow key, I can frame through everything. Um,
Right.
I can do that. And when I was first learning this, we had VCR tapes. They had VCR tape us doing
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've got some tapes now from a course that I bought when I did that at 6 videos. I hope that goes a whole different range. And there we're teaching by I'm watching you shoot, but I can only see one thing at a time. I can't go back and rewind it and watch different aspects. So I've got to watch one thing at a time, and then one thing at a time. So you got a lot more shooting to do.
Right.
Where if you take a video, take that good video and upload it, um, and take a look at it. That's a service that we offer in the group for free.
Yep.
We don't charge you to look at it. And that's one of the things. Now, if you want me to work on one for a period of time, there's going to be a little expense in that. Um, but if you want me to take a look at a video, hey, upload it. I'll look at it,
Yep.
give you some pointers,
Yep. A
and
lot
go
of
from
times
there.
you can just ask someone for go out and have someone take a picture of you pulling your bow back. You could usually see a lot just in a picture,
Oh,
or whether the draw length's too short or it's too long, their arms stretched out or cramped up or they're gripping the bow too hard, there you can tell a lot by a picture and that just those little things can help somebody so much if you say, you know what, shorten your bow up or,
yeah.
increase your draw length or quit squeezing it. That's, it helps people when you can just kind of talk them through things.
Yeah, I see a lot of them that take the bow and they're going to raise that arm up and bring it down as they're drawing back. Start with that's your weakest part of your arm is pulling down
Right.
as opposed to pushing. So I always teach, your arm out, a little bit of bend forward a little bit, push
Bring it up.
it out as you're pulling back. And that way, when you stand up, because if you stand up and do that, you end up leaning back.
Right.
So if you lean forward, it stands you up. So now you're in that perfect stance and you're
Right.
using your strong muscles instead of the weak ones.
Yeah. It,
And the ones that always get me, I talk about this all the time on here because it's just annoying when I see somebody trying to draw the bow across their chest and then raise it up.
because there's too much poundage on it, and they want
Yeah,
to,
and they're using their weak muscles. They're not even using their back, which is going to be stronger.
yeah.
And if you're a hunter, that movement is going to get you busted almost every time.
I was just going to say it's real hard not to be noticed by a deer when you're kind of wrestling with your getting your bow back, but
But and then those that are going to hunt, I tell them it's like if you can't draw your bow like a deer is basically looking at you, if you
mhm,
can't slowly draw it back, it's too much weight. If
yep,
you have to struggle and snap back on it, and because it finally breaks over, you're pulling so hard, that deer is going to catch you
every
more
movement.
times than not, and you're not even going to get shot off. So
Yep.
uh, start with a lightweight.
Yes.
I started out 52 pounds and took quite a while before I could even get up to even 60.
Hmm.
And then I finally got to 60. I could get, it was a struggle to get to 62.
Right.
And
Right.
then once I got to 62, then it seemed like it just kind of went up to 70. And
Mhm.
that's where I shot for many years.
Yeah.
I shot at 70 because I shot better at 70 than I did at 60.
Yeah. And I
I
think
because I
that
held more weight, I think.
right. Oh, absolutely. Yep. And I think for women starting out, everyone wants to drill in someone's head, that it takes 50 pounds to be able to kill a deer, and
No,
so they want to strive to be at that, and it's too much, and that's throwing everything off when you're trying to wrestle with that weight that you really aren't ready for. And it doesn't take 50 pounds to kill a deer. and
no. Well, Nebraska, their spec is based on recurves, but it's 35 pounds out of before a 28-inch draw length.
yeah,
So 35 pounds on a recurve is way less kinetic energy than 35 pounds on a compound.
absolutely.
Now, don't use mechanicals.
Right.
You're not going to get a penetration. Use a fixed blade,
Yep.
a 2 or 3 blade, and shot placement.
hmm That's another thing. All of the broadheads and everything that are out, and everyone's going to have their own opinion about those too. I have my preference of what I like, and it's probably not for everybody, but it's I'm not a huge mechanical person. I've had it error too many times. There really good ones? There are, but I like to err on the side of caution and just go with a fixed blade for me. Um, my preference.
Which one are you using?
I use the Muzzy Trocars.
That's the only broadhead I've ever shot.
Yep, love them.
I
Love them.
I actually stuck when I had my store. I was after hours. I was shooting my broadheads at my broadhead target because if you're not shooting rubber blacktop, it just really tears them up.
Yeah.
And I completely missed. I hit the concrete wall behind it. So I go up there and the shaft's laying on the ground. The insert's broke in half. It's laying on the ground. The shaft is cracked back, about an inch or so, and the muzzy's still stuck in the concrete block.
That's
It stuck,
impressive.
it hit hard enough to stick into the concrete block. I pulled it out. I still have it, still use it. I couldn't tell you which one it was because they
Right.
didn't make any marks on it.
That's crazy.
I
That
took cut the shaft down for my son to shoot and put an insert in it and let him shoot it because he was shooting a bunch of. Now he was just shooting, light poundage bow, but,
right. Yeah,
but
that's
yeah, uh, they
yeah,
say bad to the bone. I I've shattered bones, and still
oh,
ripped through.
yeah. Oh, I have too. And it's you just I don't know. Big fan. I've done
Yeah,
some promotional stuff for other broadhead companies, and I just always go back to the muzzing. I've given up doing any promotional work for any other broadhead company because it's like it's nice to get items to try, but I refuse to promote something that I truly don't believe in. Um,
right.
so that's the companies that I work for now, I think are all fantastic companies. And, it's kind of where I'm happy being where I know that I like everything that they have, everything they stand for, everything they make. And so that's kind of where I'm at. But the muzzies for sure for me.
Yeah. Well, and two, when you start talking the faster bows, they're harder to control, but the faster the bow, the harder it is to get a fixed blade to flies good.
Yes.
So if you're getting super fast, now the broadheads get harder and harder to tune, as well as your form is getting harder and harder to keep consistent because the
hmm
least little mistake exaggerates it, and then you have a broadhead on it, exaggerates even more. Um, Now on mine out of my bow, my muzzies do not hit anywhere close to my field tips,
Yeah, mine don't either.
uh, but they all group together.
Yeah.
I have that bow is set up for my broadhead, so I don't care where the field tips hit. If I'm practicing with that bow to get familiar with it again, my arrows aren't hitting in the X where the broadheads would be hitting, but I don't care because I know
Right.
they don't hit there because I'm not going to adjust it for that. Um, and then I was able to tune them in so they all consistently hit in the X,
hmm
and that's where I go with them. Um, Now, if I'm not shooting a 1,000 straight in this arrow, they're not going to group in the X no matter what you do.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, the fives aren't going to even come close to that because
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference between there. And I've always hunted with when it was before carbons with a double X 78s, which is a 1.5 thousand straightness, which is the straightest aluminum you could get. And I'd get new arrows, set them up, tune up my broadheads, and I'd hunt with them. And then after hunting season, then I use them and buy a new dozen every year. And amazing how tighter those groups get when you quit banging them over the year.
Right, right.
I quit shooting single spots because I kept wrecking too many arrows.
Yeah. It's always a good feeling when you Robin Hood another arrow until you start like buying $20 arrows and you're like,
Yeah.
it's not really so much fun anymore.
Well, back then, a dozen double X78s was like 68, $70,
Mhm.
as opposed to 25, $30 for like your game getters.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And I've gotten probably 6 or 7 of them over the years. I
Mhm.
had 2 of them when I worked at Cabela's. I had 2 of them.
Oh, really?
One was um, they had a bow coming. It was specifically made for Cabela's, and we got it. Setting it up. I shot 3 or 4 arrows. I stuck 2 arrows together, Robin Hood and arrow, and then we set it up for a couple of guys, and one of the guys set up. We put 1-inch circles down there, and he hit 5 out of the 6 1-inch circles. We set up for a third guy. It said just fine. Then he come in and says, "Oh, we need to pull that. Everybody's having trouble setting it up." We just set it up for 3 different people and worked just fine. We had 2 of the boats. Well, let us set the other 2 up, see if we just got a good one. It's no, so they pulled it off and come back. It's like, oh, okay. And it's here. I just did this with this bow. It's shooting just fine. And then I had another one. I was setting up a drop away. And for those that know, when you set up a drop away, the only way to know if it works is to shoot it. So I've got the customer's bow. Fortunately, it's right-handed, although I've shot left-handed bows too. But um, so I draw back, I shoot one, and there's guys in there watching. Another one of the guys in there helping somebody else. Draw back, shoot the one, stick the 2 arrows together, and the guy's like, "I've never seen somebody do that." Oh yeah, well, it's the second one I've got here at this store. I got like 4 other ones I've done with aluminum and carbon. So, um, and then the guy come in, it's like, I could not get it to group or nothing because he thought something wrong with the rest. So he wanted to drop away or the problem with the rest.
Yep.
Well, no, it's not the bow.
Right.
It's like, no, dude, it's you. I just stuck 2 arrows together. So there's nothing wrong with the bow. It's set up perfectly. Now, if you're having trouble, we need to talk about some lessons.
Right. Exactly. I was just at a for Mossy Oak in Kentucky for the Bowtech rally, and that was one of their things that they had was the Robin Hood competition to see.
Oh,
So that was fun to watch. That was a neat event, but they had a lot of different just little fun things like that for people to do. Then they had a couple like where they'd hang, you had to shoot through like a donut, and if you didn't, you hit metal, and
oh yeah.
yeah, fun stuff to watch.
Yeah, we had one of the archery shops around here that I was going to way back when there were several of them. They take a shot back and had the exhaust port going up, and they stick a ping pong ball on it in the
Oh,
airstream, and it bounce up and down, and you had to try and shoot the ping pong ball.
yep,
The
yep.
problem is that doesn't lead to good form.
No, it doesn't. Those things are fun. Those things are fun, but
Yeah,
after you know what you're doing.
right, right. You just kind of try and time it. It's like, okay, it's gonna be there and shoot. Get it, don't get it, you don't know. And then playing tic-tac-toe and darts and all the other game targets.
Yeah, that's
Those are
a lot
kind of fun.
fun things that different like fun leagues and stuff like that will do, which does help with your abilities to be confident for one, but being able to aim at certain things and be in a little competition with somebody else, you can definitely learn a lot and have fun, and I think that's just as important.
Yeah, that the tic-tac-toe is kind of fun. You get 5 arrows and you got to get 3 in a row. So if you think you can take the square away by getting closer to the center, you can take it away.
Right.
So that's kind of fun because it's like, okay, he's got me blocked, but there's room. I think I can get closer. And then you
Yeah.
shoot, and if you get it, you get the win.
Yeah, that's very cool.
It's all kind of fun. And then they got sheets that have all the deck of cards on it, so you could play whatever card game you wanted with that. And uh, darts you can play. Like the darts. The dart boards you shoot have, they're just super sized for arrows.
Right.
Those those are kind of fun to play on too.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Those are all, fun things to remember when you are teaching people, to you have to enjoy it while you're learning, helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things that you can do, and a lot of training techniques, and shooting with your eyes closed is one technique that when I was learning it that we did. And of course, we're close enough to the backstop. We just lean forward and grab our arrow and pull it out, so you
Right.
didn't have to worry about the other 10 people shoot with their eyes closed, being shot, because there was no
Right.
room to walk in front of you without hitting arrows, even if you're full draw, because you're so close to the target.
Right.
Like 2 feet away from it or 3 feet away from it, and
Yep.
so you don't there's no getting in front of anybody else. And it's amazing when you're shooting with your eyes closed, what your mind can see.
Oh, absolutely.
That you
Yep.
when you open your eyes, you can't see
Mhm.
it. That feeling all goes away. That was kind of a weird feeling when you finally feel what a good one feels like, and then you open your eyes and you can't feel it anymore. Close your eyes to finally you can open your eyes that, okay, now we're getting somewhere. It
Yep.
took a while.
Yep. Yeah, those are all good things. I mean, for people starting out, finding people who have those different tips and tricks and, things to do is important. Just as important as your equipment.
Yeah. Well, and I like to take a new archer to so they know what a good release feels like. Have them draw back, get the finger off the trigger, and just have them aim.
Yes.
I was like, okay, you're not going to know when this goes off because I'm going to pull the trigger when I feel like pulling a trigger.
Yeah.
So they're back and they're aiming, and I pull the trigger, and 9 times out of 10 they hit the target.
Mhm.
Where if they pull it, they couldn't hit it.
Right.
So that just some of the tricks that you learn and over the time, and it's kind of fun teaching. And
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because I think it's those are the things that just get people. You build up their confidence, they're going to be addicted,
yeah,
and they're going to be successful, and that's inevitably what you want is them to be a successful hunter, and that's the goal.
yeah, that's the goal. So what other advice might you give a new archer that's just starting out?
Well, I think other than what we've talked about, I mean, I think the importance is just to remember. I mean, if you don't have a passion for it, you're probably not going to be successful. It has to be something. You can't be somebody who just wants to pick up your bow the day before archery season starts and you think you're going to be successful. It takes somebody who truly enjoys it and loves it and wants to put the time into to making themselves successful because like I said, you're inevitably taking the life of something and you want to be as good as you possibly can be. So it is going out and it's getting set up, going through bows that feel the best for you, it's the right match for you, and then finding a mentor or somebody who's willing to spend time with you to teach you the tips and tricks and make you successful in the field.
Now, what advice would you give somebody that's been shooting for a while that's um, maybe struggling with something or wanting to take their archery to the next level?
Never feel like you know it all because you don't. There's always something that you can gain knowledge from somebody else who whether maybe they've shot not as long as you've been shooting and you've been but they might know a tip or a trick, and just being open-minded and listening to people because you can always learn something from somebody. Like we were talking about, whether it's switching your gear up or using a different release, or hey, maybe you need to try a different bow. Maybe this is just not the right fit for you. You definitely can't be closed minded. You have to be open minded to be able to try different things. And if you're kind of stuck and something's not working, then there's got to be something that can fix it. So it's trial and error.
Yeah, those are the good points, and it's something that we all need to work on too, is being open and coachable to new things. And I know when I first learned back tension release, it's like, how do you know where it's going to hit if you don't know when it's going to go off? And I
Yeah.
just didn't understand it until I learned it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Now I know.
a lot of this equipment that comes out is intimidating to people because same thing. I had that same thing with a back tension. It was like I had been in a league with some people who used them and I watched them, punch themselves in the face and I'm like, oh, that's not for me. I just don't want to even take part of it. But it's like once you do it and someone teaches you and um, you can be so successful with things that really intimidated you at first. So being able to have somebody work with you and try different things. I mean, there's so many different well, bows to begin with, but then your releases and your rests and you have to be willing to put the time and the money into your equipment to find what works for you.
Yeah, and pretty much any quality release, whether it's a wrist strap or handheld or hinge type, you can shoot them all back tension release.
Yeah,
You know, I think that's kind of a misconception sometimes to say back tension release, think it's only a hinge. It's only can fire them with a hinge.
yep,
Well, no, the hinges, you got to really be careful when you're doing them because firing them, you rotate your wrist and it fires. So you got to make sure you're basically pulling with your index finger and get it turned because then it's going to come back and now then once you start going, I don't know if they have a click in them or not. I only shoot them a few times, but now then you're going to pull through.
yeah,
The thumb release ones, the handheld ones, you don't actually fire with your thumb. If you do, you're doing it wrong anyway.
you're good.
You want it buried in your hand. I took the knob off mine just because it's in the way because I don't need it because I buried it in my hand. And now then you're going to do the same thing. When I
Hmm.
put my wrist strap on, I have my index finger and clear up to the, from the punching knuckle out one knuckle. That's where I put the trigger and I
Yep.
pull back. Of course, my finger behind the trigger when I pull
Yep.
back, and then I still the exact same form of
Yep.
releasing, no matter which type release it is. Now, where my hand sits is different on a wrist strap. My punch knuckles and that little pocket behind the jaw below the ear. When I use the other one, my hand's turned over, so it's basically my ring finger is in that spot because I use a kisser button
I
and
do
then
too.
a peep and then
Yep.
so the kisser button and a peep and then on my nose, all those are lined up. It doesn't matter what my hand does.
You're
So
right.
I can have it in multiple positions depending on the release. So, you know, somebody says, well, you have to change your anchor point. Well, yeah, but the string doesn't change references. Where your
Exactly.
hand fits on your face may change,
Yep.
and nothing else changes. Um, so that's just kind of the some of the things that
Yep. And there's a lot of people that, starting out that wouldn't know about a kisser button or, and that
right.
the points on your face are so important to everything you're going to pull off. And so that's where, a good bow shop or a good mentor, comes in handy to give you all those are really, really good things, benefits to have on your bow because it
Right.
helps you so much.
Go to a good shop that knows what they're doing, and and not all shops are created equal.
No, no,
You know, as just as a general statement, stay away from your box stores.
yes,
Like your Bass Pros, your Cabela's, your Shields, your Dicks, all those other things that sell all kinds of stuff. Uh, Now, not saying they don't have good people in them,
hmm,
but you don't know. So if you
right,
go to a bow shop that their one focus is selling you archery equipment, you're more likely going to get somebody that knows what they're doing.
right.
You may get somebody with an attitude, but you got to look through them.
Yep,
Now, fortunately, here in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and over here in La Vista, in Nebraska, where Cabela's was and Bass Pro was, we had people that knew what they was doing. When I was at Bass Pro, there was four of us in there that've been working on bows for many years, and we probably had probably 60 years experience between the four of us at least. And then I left there and come to Cabela's, and of course there I was kind of it for a while because
yeah,
they didn't have anybody that knew anything was going on. And then one of the guys that you work at Bass Pro, he come out there, so we had two people that had lots of experience,
yep,
setting up bows and selling equipment. And then Of course, now neither one of us are there, so flip coin.
Yeah, yeah. And
You
yeah,
don't know.
you don't
Um,
because they're hiring workers. They're hard to find people nowadays, so they're just,
yeah,
it doesn't mean that they're an archer or. So I think going to a bow shop definitely is very important because they're typically there and they're there for a reason. They know what they're
yeah,
doing.
yeah. One time I went in and I was in the archery department, and so he originally applied for one of the departments. Says, "Well, we don't have an opening here, but we got an opening in archery. You know anything about archery?" Well, I shot a bow a couple times when I was a kid.
You're hired.
Okay, now you're in archery.
Not who you want to have teaching a brand new person.
No, no, or setting it up, and uh, you know, so you just don't know. I've been to other Bass Pros and Cabela's and stuff, other places, and I run across some that they looked like they knew what they was doing, and even went in Shields. I don't know where all it's at, but here in Ron Omeyer is there's Shields, which is another sporting goods store.
Mhm.
They have all kinds of stuff, including archery. They sell guns, they sell safes, they sell all your regular sport type, your basketballs, your all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Just kind of general outdoor sporting type stuff. Um, and there is a couple of guys in there that actually look like they knew what they was doing.
Hmm.
You're going to run into those.
Yeah.
But as a new person, you don't know. So,
Yeah.
like you said, go to a pro shop. If you have one, if you don't have one nearby, then it might be worth a drive a couple
Mhm.
100 miles to go visit one. Uh, there's generally going to be some shop within a couple 100 miles of you, and this is not a cheap investment. This is now I think the low end ones are still running $600-700.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's quite a bit to fork out for a bow that you may or may not work it for you.
Right. Yeah. And why invest that to want to change in a month or two because you're probably not going to sell it for what you bought it for. So you're better
Nope.
to take that time and go somewhere where you can try things out and be confident with what you're purchasing.
Yeah, because you're generally not going to be able to sell a bow for what you have into it.
No.
Even brand new, once you have it, nobody's going to pay you full price for it because I'm
Yeah.
just going to go to the store get it full price.
Right.
So you're going to lose something on it, and even if you're on a pro staff where they get you really cheap bows, you're still not going to make really any money on them.
Exactly.
Uh, you know, I know I don't know what they're doing now, but when I was at my store, my shooters could buy bows cheaper than I could buy them for the store. It was cheaper than wholesale.
Mhm.
So the idea was every other year they bought a new bow. So then every other year they would sell off their old bow, and they
Mhm.
could get pretty much what they paid for it because such a good discount.
Right.
And now then, after a couple of years, you're basically shooting new bows every couple of years, and
Mhm.
because PSC changed their main line every other year. Um, not like Hoyt that seems to want to change it every year.
Yeah.
So you had 2 years to shoot that bow, and then you should be able to sell it off, and that's because you're promoting the store, you're promoting the bows, and
Yeah.
and my shooters brought in a lot of business.
Mhm. Yeah.
They're out there shooting and bringing in a lot of business. And one of my shooters, he was left-handed. He ordered in one of the higher end bows, and it just so happened that one of the guys was going looking for it was left-handed, so we sold him his bow.
Yep.
I just had to order in a new one,
Right. Right.
So I just ordered a new one. That's what they happens sometimes is the bow comes in, somebody we sell it to customer and order them a new one in.
Yeah. Yeah.
No big deal.
Exactly. That's the benefit of having a shop.
Yeah, yeah, that's benefit of having a shop and your staff shooters because they're
Yep.
getting in stuff and they're trying them out. And if they're in there and the customer wants to try that bow, then they can try that bow, especially if you have a left-handed shooter. Because
Right.
then they come in, they can try the high-end bow in left-handed, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, oh, I like this is really good, this fits me good, and then you reset it back up for your shooter and
Yeah.
ordering a new one. That way
Yeah.
they get a new one, not one that's been shot.
Right.
Generally, most of the bow manufacturers, unless there's something going on, you can generally get them within a week normally.
Yes. Yep.
Once in a while, a little bit longer, but not too often.
Yeah. I know that my newest bow, I even customized it a little bit and it was still, I had it within 3 weeks. So your wait time's not bad.
No, no, it's not too bad generally on them. Now, there for a while here, a couple of years ago, there was nothing getting out because everybody was shut down and really couldn't make them.
Sitting in the middle of the
So,
ocean.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In the middle of that, let's kill all the small businesses.
Right. Right. That's
Well,
all. Hopefully.
we've been talking for a little while here, so I'll probably let you get on with your day. It's been really great talking with you, and
You as
a
well.
lot of good stories, and a couple of really emotional stories you told. They're really, really, really cool that you was able to, share some of those stories with us. That has a lot of meaning and a lot of emotion tied to them, and you know, feel it even on this end.
Yeah. It's what it's all about. I think everybody's got stories that kind of hit you in the heart or whatever, it's
Yeah,
just because especially if you're doing it with a child or your parent, or it's just memories,
yeah.
whether you're successful or you're not, you're making memories. So those are something you can't do every day.
No, no, it's hard to do it every day, and we enjoy them when we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's been really great having you on the show. Um, we'll have to catch up later and see what's going on here in a while, and let us
Absolutely.
know what's going on with you and how your hunting season doing. Maybe we can talk again, see have some more hunting stories about this year's um, you know deer that you get this year and your family
Yeah.
gets this year. That'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool, and maybe we can have your boys on too, or one of them too at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be
That'd be
awesome.
kind of cool.
Yep, definitely.
Well, if you want to have anybody take a look at your shooting form, make sure you take a video and upload that video to the Arch Talk 1 Facebook group. Go ahead and join. There'll be a link in the description for that. Uh, and we'll take a look at it, give you some pointers. If you have any problems with your bow, go ahead and post what you have any problem with your bow. If there's a picture will help us out, upload a picture, and we'll take care of that. Take a look at that. You don't have to worry about in that group being sold anything because we don't allow you to sell anything in the group. It's all about content, or even post YouTube videos because we can't control where they go from there. We want to make sure everything is nice and safe. The archers. The only dumb question is the one you haven't asked, because if you have a question, ask it. You know, everybody has questions. We've all either had that question or thought about it. And so make sure you let us know. Uh, it's been really great talking with you, and we'll see you on the next one. My name is Roy Canterbury. I've been host today with Lisa Walker, and we'll see you on the next one. And everybody have a great day, and thanks for watching or listening.
Bye bye.
Bye.